Hey there, everyone. That sexy nerd is back again. And Death Battle is finally back. I feel like I'm always going to have to keep saying that because of the damn breaks that they always take. But man, it's always great when they are back. So, yeah, I am... I'm really excited about this one. First of all, it's about Ant-Man because, like, he's one of my favorites, honestly. Especially in the movies where he actually got his fair due. Even though it's not really Hank Pym. I like Hank Pym a little bit more, but, you know, Scott Lang is a nice replacement. Especially in the movies. And, speaking of which, I am working. I've already filmed Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Or Ant-Man Quantumania. Which one is it? But anyway, I already saw the movie. It's all recorded. I just have to finish editing. So hopefully that'll be up for y'all soon. So stay tuned for that. And I've always liked the Atom. And I'm even though I like Ant-Man, I kind of am figuring that he's going to win this fight. I'm kind of interested because their powers are so similar. But I feel like Ant-Man's suit has a little bit more to offer. Especially with the whole Arrowverse version of the Atom. I haven't seen that much of the comics, and the comics, I don't know that much about the Atom in the comics, but from what I've seen in the shows and that, I feel like Ant-Man might have a little bit of competition. But, I feel Ant-Man can give a good fight, but... he only can shrink. But then again, he can also use his strength to, like, punch people out. And I don't think the Atom usually has to do that. He usually does other things. But, yeah, I don't know if you ever saw that part in Sword in the Stone, where the guy became a German. That's how he won the Wizard's Duel. I feel like that's the way that this battle's going to go. But, hey, I don't know. I would love Ant-Man to win because I like Ant-Man a little bit better. But if Captain Atom wins, if Atom wins, because Captain Atom is different, then I wouldn't be too mad too. But let's just see how it goes. So remember, please smash that like button if you want to see more sexy and nerdy content, and subscribe if you think I deserve it. And let's do this thing, y'all.
Ant-Man,
hell yeah,
founding member of the Avengers.
Yep.
The Atom, DC's legendary Mighty Might.
Good things come in small packages.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
We're just trying to get these out of the way.
And Bully.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Did you know that ants can lift 50 times their own body weight? That'd be like if you lifted a car straight over your head.
Wow.
I did, thanks to my fun fact of the day calendar. Also, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada yesterday.
Well, I bet your calendar didn't tell you that Dr. Henry Pym, aka Hank, was considered a genius at a very early age. By 3 years old, doctors declared that he was smarter than both his parents combined.
Wow. He eventually majored in biochemistry and became one of the most successful scientists in his field. He had big ideas about shrinking the size of cargo to reduce shipping costs. Logistics.
All of which made him a laughingstock in the scientific community and sparked a long-lasting insecurity and need to prove himself.
But he did it. He developed a working serum.
We're gonna tackle the whole schmackadoo again, aren't we? Poor Janet. I really don't. That's why I like that Michael Douglas is portrayed better in the movies, because I really don't think that story even needed to really even happen. But then again, because not only that, it was a big moment for the fans, but they never try to bring focus on that again. Like, how interesting would that be? Like a guy trying to redeem himself after committing something so horrible. But no, I remember there was it was either Secret Invasion or Civil War where Janet is like on a lifeline or something like that, and she's like really hurt, and he doesn't even bring up the fact that he's remorseful of the fact that he slapped her in the face. So I don't know.
He went from laughingstock to Christmas stocking, the much better stock, right behind Bean and Live.
So Naturally, he tested the serum on himself, like any self-respecting scientist would, and shrank down to the size of an ant.
And just when things started going south, a sweet little ant, let's call her Aunt Hathaway, swooped in and led Hank safely back to his lab where he could return to full size.
Hank then harnessed the serum and became the superhero Ant-Man. Along with his new identity came a fascination in entomology, which makes total sense. Ants are fascinating.
Did you know that ants can talk to each other in a bunch of different ways? Through touch, sound, or even sharing information by barfing at each other.
It's actually called trophallaxis, and they're not...
It's basically they're not really barfing it out. They're holding it onto themselves, and then they just pass it to each other.
barfing, per se. It's more like passing food mouth to mouth.
There you are.
Gross! Hank figured out how to communicate with his new pets, not by barfing, but by creating a cybernetic helmet that mirrors an ant's antenna. And he's even developed genuine relationships
look at
with
that.
ants, like Ulysses S. Ant here.
But he didn't stop there. Hank developed a lot of amazing tech like a stinger pistol that focuses his bioenergy into a stun beam, and image-inducing camouflage to mask himself as an ant. It worked so well it fooled Reed Richards, the smartest guy on the planet.
Whoa.
He also built a suit that runs on that nifty serum he made back in his lab. It lets him shrink thanks to the newly discovered PIM particles.
Yeah.
Named after himself. Ah, classic Hank.
And the PIM particle is the key to unlocking the fundamental constants of the quantum mechanics at play here. They enable you to decrease the distance between atoms. However, in order to do that, he'd have to change the Bohr radius, the ratio of electron mass to the distance the electrons orbit an atom's nucleus.
Of course. Like how when you make a bagel pizza, you can't fit the whole pizza on the bagel.
It's a pizza
Believe me,
bagel,
I've
not
tried.
bagel pizza.
It's too small. You just gotta put less on.
Sure, Boomstick. So the PIM particles are actually displacing mass to an alternate dimension in order to maintain that ratio.
Oh, it's like having a second bagel to put the rest of your pizza
Yeah,
on.
that was cool.
I get it.
But if that were true, he shouldn't be able to punch with full-size strength if he has less mass.
And he's definitely lighter, because otherwise he'd crush the sweet ants he rides, like Vincent Van Gogh here.
His mass is being replaced with massless neutrinos, but that doesn't adequately explain how he can have less mass and seemingly more mass at the same time.
Right? I
Sure
never thought
does,
it made
Wiz.
sense.
Trust Pim and his particles. Look at the guy. He's explaining the whole thing while wearing a lab coat. What's more trustworthy than that? You're the exception.
You think you understand this?
Oh, of course. He's small but strong. You said something about a boar, so
hell is that?
I guess you wanted ham on that pizza, but I already made the pizza.
Will you take that coat off?
No. Oh.
Regardless, there is virtually no limit to Hank's ability to shrink. He can go beyond subatomic
Yellow
down to
Jacket.
the underspace, a plane of existence below all realities in the Marvel Universe.
And Hank has literally changed his biology. He's rewritten his own chemical makeup to prevent anyone else from changing his size. And he's used PIM particles so much, he's now got an energy field around him that lets him change the size of people or objects on the fly, through touch or by straight up firing PIM particles in the air.
He's never shy about using them either. He eventually supplied his wife, Janet Van Dyne, with some PIM tech to become the Wasp, his partner in crime fighting.
The two ended up rubbing shoulders with A-listers like Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk to take down Loki. Ant-Man and the Wasp were actually the ones that captured him and pitched the idea of forming the Avengers.
Unfortunately, Hank's insecurities started to creep back in, and he felt that if he wanted to keep up with the big heroes, he was going to have to think bigger.
Enter a bunch of those PIM-powered alter egos like
Yeah.
Yellow Jacket and Giant Man, where he can grow anywhere from 12 feet tall to so big he can enter the overspace, the polar opposite of the underspace.
There he met Eternity, who called him Earth's Scientist Supreme. Something he won't let you forget.
Yeah,
Hank pushed
seriously.
himself to these insane heights, even though he knew the strain on his body could be fatal.
But he simply didn't care and kept pushing himself. Thus, his greatest and worst creation was born, Ultron.
Yep, all the Tin Man Tron was created by Hank, not Tony like the movies. But the mass murder butt thing turned out pretty much the same. Big swing and a miss there.
The fallout from Ultron left Hank in a bad place, to say the least. His guilt made him feel like an utter failure, and that his best work was behind him. This led Hank to do unspeakable things.
A real low-life move. And even though poor mental health doesn't excuse this behavior, it was clear that Hank needed help. He suffered multiple mental breakdowns, endured the physical toll of the PIM particles, and had bipolar disorder that went undiagnosed for years.
So Hank finally did the best thing he could. He acknowledged his problems, got the help he needed, and committed to self-improvement.
And with that help, Hank slowly started making things right. He rebuilt the West Coast Avengers, gave Scott Lang his blessing to become the second Ant-Man, and finally defeated Ultron.
He created a backdoor Trojan infiltration code to defeat Ultron that was so advanced it went on to replicate and evolve all on its own to create a new species made up of artificial intelligence.
They don't call him the god of modern AI for nothing. Hank has showed over and over again that he's an integral part of the Marvel Universe.
Not just by ways of his scientific
I
contributions
love
or
that.
victories in battle, but by proving that heroes come in all shapes and sizes.
I love Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Ray Palmer was born your average human-sized person. He grew up in the Northeast, studied physics at Ivy University, and did everything Mama and Papa Palmer told him to do. Probably.
Everything was pretty typical for Ray
Hey, there
until
he
one
is.
fateful night when he took a walk to take his mind off a frustrating experiment and saw a meteor fall from the sky.
He ran off to the crash and found himself a life-changing piece of a white dwarf star, and immediately started messing around with it. Who wouldn't?
He discovered that
Exactly.
he could focus ultraviolet rays through it and shrink inanimate objects. There was just one problem. When he shrunk things, they exploded.
What?
Every time.
I do not see the problem. Sounds like he found a foolproof way of blowing stuff up. Case closed.
Ray was determined to figure out how to shrink objects without blowing them up. But first, he went on a hike with his nature club. And as a fellow scientist, I have to question his priorities.
But hey, it seems to work for him. I support it. Different hikes for different mics, am I right?
While in a cave, the ceiling suddenly collapsed, trapping everyone inside. After searching high and low for another exit, Ray found a small opening and had an idea. He could try to shrink himself down and get help, even if it meant he might explode before he got the chance.
Wow.
But he didn't explode. I hope this story has a happy ending at least.
Perplexed, Ray determined there must have been something special about him that made him uniquely immune to the explosive fate. Something super scientifically convenient that we never get any more information on.
So he got
What?
to work and created himself a suit to harness the power of the white dwarf star and became the Atom!
Atom uses the white dwarf fragment to decrease his size while having control over his density, which makes a lot of sense considering that white dwarfs have the mass of a star, like the sun, but their volume is more like the Earth's, making them among the densest objects in space.
Just a teaspoon of the stuff could weigh up to 100 tons.
Teaspoon?
That's one strong spoon.
When Atom shrinks and shifts his weight, he's actually sending his extra mass to a dimension called the mass
Yeah.
zone.
Where
Justice League.
Atom could maybe live forever. At one point, Ray's apprentice
Wait,
Ryan-
why?
Wait, he's actually sending his extra mass to a dimension called the mass zone.
where Atom could maybe live forever.
Maybe?
At one point, Ray's apprentice Ryan Choi was murdered by Deathstroke, but willed some of his mass to the mass zone and was able to survive in that dimension. So these guys can potentially cheat death, but would be stuck there without any outside help.
Yeah,
But
well.
from one scientist to another, what's most impressive is Ray's creation of the Bio Belt.
You know what could be a good story if there's like an alternate reality version of the Atom just shrinking people down to that dimension and just kidnapping them just so he wouldn't be alone anymore.
That's what allows Atom to use the power of the White Dwarf and shrink while maintaining any weight, from immaterial to his full 180 pounds. There's even been times where it's stated that he was able to become almost as dense as a white dwarf star itself
course.
for a few seconds.
The belt is also how he can travel through phone lines or through the air, on currents or light beams. Over time, Ray has spread out the White Dwarf power to other parts of his suit, and now the Bio Belt acts as a utility belt for his shrunken weapons and tech. It also prevents his size or mass from being altered by any outside forces.
And while he can only increase his size back to his natural 6 feet in height, his ability to shrink is nearly limitless. He can travel between subatomic space to the microverse, the foundation of all reality in the DC universe, where atoms become the size of planets.
Typically, he can increase back to his normal size with such force he can smash through diamonds. So if Atom increases his size too much while still within the microverse, he could blow up the entire fabric of reality from the inside out.
Wow.
Shrinking down to that size means that he can shrink small enough to rearrange atoms themselves.
Yep, Ray can take individual molecules and rapidly expand them to cook up a small nuclear blast in the palm of his hand. Oh, Ray Palmer. I just got that.
He also once disarmed a bomb by rearranging its atoms. At that size, he can move at the velocity of light. So fast and so randomly, he basically acted as a barrier between any and all possible atom combinations. But come on, there's no scientific explanation here for him to have superhuman senses or awareness to comprehend being everywhere at the same time.
It makes total sense. If you're small enough, you can fit in almost everything, everywhere, all at once. Like how you can fit an entire pizza into a calzone, and then you have a whole pizza everywhere inside the calzone. Man, I get it. Science is pizza.
No! Science is all I have! Why are you doing this to me?
On top of all of Ray's amazing inventions and abilities, he's also got some more classic weapons, like a laser blaster and a frickin' sword he used to fight a giant crocodile.
Of course.
Relative to his size.
That was when Ray was
Relative
believed
to
to be
his
dead,
size.
but was actually just stuck at 6 inches tall and stranded in the Amazon rainforest, where he encountered an alien race known as the Catarthans.
And get this, he ended up leading a rebellion against their tyrant king and became the ruler of all the Kardashians.
And his heroism didn't stop there. The Atom was a very well-respected hero, and was even asked to join the Justice League of America shortly after it was formed.
He fought alongside Batman and his best bud, Hawkman. And you don't fight with those guys without picking up a thing or two.
Impressive combat skills
Fair
aside,
enough.
Atom's greatest contribution to the legendary team was always his incredible mind.
He once created kryptonite inside of Superman by realizing that if he gathered up enough Kryptonian protons, they would eventually become radioactive.
While stranded in limbo, Atom realized that if the Flash sped up the rate of a nuclear reaction's stellar evolution to exhaust its core, they could turn a fire demon into a black hole and use it as a wormhole to get back to Earth.
What?
He's a brilliant, hard-working, and determined scientist
guess
that
that
never
makes sense.
stops working on a problem until he's found a solution. I mean, if I figured out how to blow stuff up as well as he did, I would have stopped right there. I'm the hero that blows stuff up. Wouldn't even need to change my name.
Ray Palmer lived the dream, going from research scientist to legendary superhero. He picked up the pieces presented to him and built something greater than the sum of its parts.
Who knew this tiny titan with massive brains would have just as much brawn to back it up? Oh!
Oh man, more sprites. All right. They're not so bad
You should
anymore.
pick on someone your own size, relatively speaking.
How did you do this? It's laced with a particle I've never seen before.
You still can
They're
see
called
it.
Pym particles.
I'm sorry. I think this guy might be smarter than the Atom, though. I think Hank is technically smarter than the Atom.
I'm Hank Pym, Scientist Supreme. You should have knocked.
Okay. I think he's a better fighter, though.
You're using pieces of a white dwarf star? That's cute.
Everything we needed already existed. You just needed to be smart enough to put the pieces together. Scientist Supreme!
How did you know that? I got that Ant-Man joke. Ah, that was good.
Did you know that at any given moment, there are about 2.5 million ants under your feet?
I mean, that makes sense, but why are you bringing that up right now?
Well, he's got friends, basically. Ah,
Took
you
you long
bitch!
enough. Okay, let's try this.
Can you shrink
I'll
down?
take his belt. You lay low and let me know what you find.
Yes, Queen.
Nice try.
Okay.
If I search every electron path in his gun and study their probability wave functions, I just might be able to!
Oh. Really? Home field advantage. Oh, shit.
What's happening? be reaching his limit. If we don't get out of here quick, he's gonna destroy all of reality. Now, my pets!
Yeah.
You have your tricks and your tools, but I created something beyond the limits of human existence. I operate on a scale you can't even comprehend.
What? Overspace? Eternity?
You can't be afraid to think big.
Oh! Well, okay. Again, I am so happy to be wrong. I can't believe I doubted the Scientist Supreme, but you know, I guess he got that name for a reason. Good show, good sir, good show.
Ant-Man and Atom both had many answers to each other's abilities
All
and
right.
arsenals. Both were able to store various weapons at a shrunken state, both were trained in judo, and they both could obviously keep up with each other's ability to shrink at will.
Though there was one small thing Adam couldn't answer to: the ants. Hank's bond with his pets lent him some small advantages, and Ray just didn't have enough anti-ant tools in his bio belt.
But in Adam's defense, the fact that he could punch with a fist packed with all of his mass meant that a close-up fight while small would leave Hank with few options since he can only punch with his normal human strength.
Even still, all Ant-Man would need to do is keep his dissed ants with the help of his insect confidants and devise another plan of ant-tack, something Hank has no shortage of.
For instance, Ant-Man could alter Adam's size thanks to the Pym particle field he generates. Hank would just need to stall long enough to remove or disable Adam's biobelt, and he's had no trouble hacking enemy tech in the past.
But even with the bio belt busted, it wouldn't stop Adam's ability to shrink, since the White Dwarf power is contained throughout his suit. Destroying the belt only meant that Ant-Man could alter Adam's size.
Whereas Hank has literally rewritten his own biology to prevent outside size alteration. And while Adam's abilities are definitely impressive, they are limited, and Ant-Man simply aren't, at least by comparison. Hank could always match Ray's size or just take the fight to the overspace where he would have the edge, both physically and mentally.
The overspace can mess with the human mind, but we've seen that Hank can handle it.
But if the Scientist Supreme is really so smart, why didn't he just immediately go up Adam's butt and blow him up from the inside?
What's wrong with you, Wiz? Aren't you a fellow man of science?
This is the meanest thing you've ever done to me.
Adam sized up Ant-Man, but in the end, he was the one who had to say, Uncle.
The winner is Ant-Man.
I am so happy he won.
Thanks for watching. Content. Planet level members even see death battles before anyone else, so don't miss out.
What's next? Wait. Skyrim? Versus Bloodborne? Skyrim versus Bloodborne? Yeah. Oh, Dark Souls versus that. That's what I meant. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I have nothing nothing about like Skyrim or Bloodborne or whatever the hell all that is. But yeah, because those damn games are like really hard, and if the God of War games are anything to go off of, like since they imitated the playstyle of Dark Souls or Dark Souls, then yeah, it's just gonna be a rough time. And I hear it's like the hardest thing you'll ever play. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I was so wrong. I have to admit I didn't consider the damn thing is in the title. I can't believe I didn't consider the ants. That's crazy though. Man, I'm so happy he won. He just came out and he just, yeah, you know, and it makes sense too. Yeah, I mean, as soon as he brought in the ants, I was like, oh man, he has to fight like a whole bunch of people. I mean, a whole bunch of other things and find Ant-Man. And it's basically how he beat Kang the Conqueror in Quantumania, which is, I just watched the damn movie. Hank was technically the real hero of that movie. He saved the whole freaking movie, which is great. That's why I think I like that movie so much. It's not my favorite Ant-Man movie. It's the first one is actually, really, I think Endgame is my favorite Ant-Man movie because technically he saved, like like he keeps saying, and like I say, he's the MVP of that movie. He won the whole thing, and I love him for it. You know, can never pick on the little guy in Marvel. But yeah, I can't believe I gave too much stock in the Atom, because I've seen the Atom, like, what is it? Beaten, or, you know, not outsmarted, but like basically there was nowhere to go, and he was basically lucky he didn't get killed. It was in that episode of Justice League when he faced off against the Amazo robot. That overpowered one, by the way. Why was he so overpowered? And I see him in other things, and the Justice League can just like smack him around a bit in other things. But Amazo in Justice League was beyond, like, it was a god. It was crazy. But you know, until Solomon Grundy kicked his ass. But that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I love DC, and I guess that's why I had a little bit of a bias to it, because I feel like the DC superheroes, when they go up against Marvel superheroes, that usually the DC superheroes win. But as we've been seeing in some of the other episodes, sometimes the Marvel characters come out on top. Like, biggest examples being Green Arrow versus Hawkeye, because Green Arrow kind of sucks if you don't consider his TV show. Yeah. But anyway, what'd you guys think of the episode? Let me know in the comments below, and hopefully I'll get Ant-Man Quantumania out very soon. Hopefully it'll be the next video I release. But keep a lookout for that, and please smash that like button if you want to see more sexy and nerdy content, and subscribe if you think I deserve it. And I'll see y'all in the next episode.